All right, here we go. This is going to be amazing. Parents, listen up. Invite your friends. Check this out. I have Dr. Shawn Talbot in the house, psychonutritionist, nutritional biochemist, and chief science officer at the Mental Wellness Company. My name is Dale Ecuyer. We're going to give you some great insight on how you can help your kids have better focus, better mood, less anxiety, more motivation, and just build their stress resilience for these crazy times we're in right now, right? Dr. Shawn, it's insane.
Really. It is insane. And the parents who heard you say that are probably thinking, forget about the kids. I need that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We can help you as well. And actually, yeah, right. The mom is the foundation of the household, right? So if mom's not feeling good, nobody's feeling good.
That's right. That's right.
It's true. So, but let's talk about our kids, even little ones. Like, what can we do to help them? Let's start with the focus piece, because I know that's a huge one, especially now with everyone doing like the homeschooling, with their kids trying to learn virtually. Like, that's challenging.
Yeah. It's really challenging, especially the younger the kids are, right? I mean, think about when we were in, elementary school, right? The last thing you wanted to do is sit and focus for an extended period of time. In fact, that's not the way kids are designed, right? So our whole educational system, especially an online educational system, is not aligned with how our children's brains are sort of wired, right? And so that's the first piece of the puzzle. But that is the world that we live in, right? So we have to do the best for our kids. People have maybe heard me tell this story before, but when my kids were in elementary school, my son in particular, the teachers pulled us aside and said, we think this one needs to be medicated, right? Because he wasn't paying attention, right? He was not interested in any way, shape, or form, whatever they were talking about. And they wanted to medicate him. They wanted us to put him on, Ritalin or something like that. And so because of my background, I at least had the wherewithal to say, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to do something else. We're going to do a natural therapy. And we were able to do at that time, this was years ago, but we were able to do a combination of theanine, which is a natural amino acid that you find in green tea, and pine bark, which is something that's used in New Zealand as a first line therapy for ADHD. So we were able to put those in his smoothie, right? He couldn't swallow pills at that time, but we would put him in his smoothie. And it was such a difference in his ability to focus and stay engaged. The teachers pulled us aside a short time after that and said, "Oh, thanks for taking our advice." Right? He was so much better. They thought for sure that we had medicated him. Right? And so it's just the fact that, like, in Japan, they use theanine as a first line therapy for ADHD. In New Zealand, they use pine bark. So that's what we had access to, and that's what we did. So, those are available to parents to see if that's gonna help their kids before they have to resort to a pretty potent medication. And most of those ADD drugs, they're one or two chemical steps away from methamphetamines. That's the category of medication that they're in. They're very high potency stimulants. And if you can keep your kids off of that, I think most people would sign up for that.
So in terms of focus, I love this because I always believe, it's all about nutrients and feeding the body what it needs, and then the body can do what you want it to do. As a formulator at the Mental Wellness Company, you formulate specific products based around your experience and your knowledge to help kids focus. So can you talk a little bit about that formulation in particular?
Yeah, and so when we put those formulas together for Amare, one of the problems we wanted to solve was, all right, we need to help kids focus. We need to help kids with their stress levels. We need to help kids with their resilience. We need to help them with their mood. And so all of those different pieces are really multifactorial issues, right? It's not to say that each one of those is caused by one thing. Each one of those might be caused by a variety of different things. So for example, you might not have enough of baseline nutrients that you need, the B vitamins and the amino acids and the antioxidants and things like that, so that you can make the neurotransmitters that you need to make in order to focus. So there's a nutritional component to it. So that's sort of one layer. There's another layer of, are you getting good blood flow? Are you getting good neuron firing? Does your brain need to wake up so it can focus, or does it need to calm down so it can focus? And those those sound like opposite things to people when I describe them that way. And they say, well, wait a minute. If I calm them down, isn't that the opposite of waking them up? And actually, those happen in different parts of the brain. And so you can strategically and very precisely build both of those benefits into a supplement that you can give to kids, so that sometimes they need the calming down so they can focus, and sometimes they need the waking up so they can focus. But you can build those into the same formula so that that kid can get those benefits at sort of any time. So our line, what we've done is we've said, look, some of these are going to be nutrient issues, so let's solve that with one product. Some of those are going to be wake up issues, so we'll solve that with a product. Some of those are going to be calm down issues, so we'll solve that with a product. And then even when you say like, well, where are those problems originating? Sometimes they're in the brain, and we can focus certain nutrients on that. Sometimes they're in the gut, and this might be a sort of a disconnect for parents. Like, wait a minute, how is my kid's ability to focus here? How does that have anything to do with what's going on down here in the gut? Well, this is where a lot of those neurotransmitters are made in the first place. And we know that if we can change the metabolism of neurotransmitters in the gut at the level of the microbiome, that those kids do focus better. They're able to be calm in the face of stress. They're able to stay on task and not get sort of sidetracked because they're able to focus better. So it really is this sort of, multifactorial problem. But if you build a multifactorial solution with the right natural ingredients, you're able to, deliver those benefits that parents are looking for.
So if you're taking the system, you're providing your body with the nutrients, then your body kind of determines what you need.
That's a perfect way to describe it. Like, the body will know, all right, I'm being exposed to stress right now. I need to make more GABA, one of the neurotransmitters, so that I can calm down in the face of this stress. At other times, the body might know, oh, I need to really get engaged in this thing. I need more norepinephrine, and the body will make that. So what we're trying to do is not give those things, not try to force that metabolism one way or another. We're trying to get the body in this balanced state so that that system that we call the gut-brain axis is a more dynamic system that can engage with whatever that situation is. Because, think about it. In a given day, your kid might need to wake up and get excited about something, and then calm down and be less tense about something. And then they might need to flip back right back around and get motivated again, right? So that's sort of rolling with the punches sort of a thing. That's what your body should naturally do. And if we give it the right balance with these natural ingredients, we're able to restore that for everybody.
Wow. That's so exciting. Let's talk a little bit about, and I know there's like these incredible numbers that neurotransmitters are created in the gut, like serotonin is a certain percentage. Can you talk about those, like the main neurotransmitters that are produced in the gut?
Yeah, so the gut produces hundreds and hundreds of different bioactive compounds. So your gut is going to be a major source of the amino acids that your body will use to make neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine and things like that. It'll be the major source of compounds called short-chain fatty acids that have signaling qualities in the brain and in the immune system and, for your metabolism and things like that. But the ones that we focus on sometimes are the actual neurotransmitters. So your gut, your microbiome will make about 90 to 95% of our body's serotonin. And serotonin is one of the neurotransmitters lots of people have heard of before because it's kind of the neurotransmitter of happiness. If you don't have enough of it, you might be sad or depressed or anxious or something like that. And if you have enough of it, there's a whole class of medications, Prozacs and Zolofts and things like that increase our level of serotonin and therefore are used as treatments for depression, right? So if we can naturally get our guts to make more serotonin, we feel better. And I have to stop here before I talk about the other neurotransmitters because people sometimes get confused. They think that, if my gut makes more serotonin, that somehow is going to make its way up to my brain and therefore I'm going to be happier. It doesn't exactly work that way. Probably the serotonin in the gut sends a signal through your your inflammatory system, cytokines, or through your immune system, or through your nervous system. There's nervous system connections that go directly from the gut to the brain, like the vagus nerve. So we know that the serotonin in the gut does make us feel happier in the brain, but it's not like the serotonin from the gut goes to the brain, right? And that might be a little of a subtle nuance, but like scientifically, it's really, really important. But we do know that the gut makes 90 to 95% of our serotonin. We make more, we're happier. We know it makes about 70% of our dopamine. That's the neurotransmitter that helps us with motivation. We know a lot of the norepinephrine that helps us focus. We know that most of the GABA that helps us relax. All of that's made in the gut. And that's one of the reasons, all of that is one of the reasons that we refer to the gut as the second brain. You know, that this gut-brain axis could be thought of as one brain that's just connected. You know, and we have a brain here in our head, we have a brain here in our gut. And if we take care of them both simultaneously, that's where ultimate performance lives. We can have better mental fitness. We can have better mental resilience. We can have an ability to be calm in the face of stress. We have the ability to be motivated and energetic and focused when we need it. But we can only get that if we're harnessing these two brains instead of just trying to rely on one brain.
Got it. So yeah, it's like you mentioned once before, like the communication highway from the gut to the brain. So it's not just taking one thing, like the formulation that you put together is the gut-brain axis. So that component where they're talking to one another.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly right. Because there's some nutrients that we know have a gut effect, but people feel better as a result of that. So, you know, the whole sort of like the secret, I guess, of what these products do is that they're the only ones, right? When they were launched in 2018, we won all sorts of awards around the fact that this was the world's first holistic gut-brain axis system. And that is still true to this day when we're talking about this in 2021. There still isn't a holistic gut-brain axis system out there. But the science tells us, and our experience shows us, the only way to get somebody to go to that ultimate level of mental and physical performance is to coordinate the signals across that entire gut-brain axis. So, I mean, there's reasons nobody did it before us, right? The science wasn't there yet. We didn't have the information in order to build something like this. We didn't know what all those moving parts were, but just recently we figured that out. So in 2018, when we launched this, it was just at the point where the science was good enough where we could use the science to build something like this. So we could look at that entire system and we could say, aha, we need to do a little adjustment here and another little adjustment there. And we need theanine here, but we need a probiotic there. And so we're able to really build that out in a very strategic precision nutrition type of way.
Like very, very comprehensive program. Can we talk about something that's really, really troubling and really prevalent today with kids? And that is this really high anxiety that's going on. And a lot of that anxiety is turning into panic attacks
right.
for some kids. So can you talk about like the best way to address that or make us understand why this is happening? I mean, obviously there's lots of stressors right now,
right.
But you know, how to deal with that, because I just hear so many kids like have really struggling with anxiety right now.
Yeah, you know, the anxiety that we're seeing right now is predictable. And it's predictable because like if you look at sort of the trajectory of how mood states change over time, right? This is a little bit simplistic just for the sake of discussion, but you know, we can have people who are under a lot of stress, and certainly we've all been in that category for the last year. Kids have been under more stress because they can sort of feel the uncertainty that their parents are feeling around, you know, economics and finances and, you know, job security and all that kind of stuff. But then kids also have the you know, additional load of stress of, you know, being online and, you know, not having the social outlets and not having the sports and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So kids are getting sort of a double whammy in a certain way. So they're getting a lot of chronic stress. When we see chronic stress persist by any more than a couple of weeks, it's very likely to flip from just being stress and chronic stress and the problems associated with that. It's very likely to flip into anxiety. And when that anxiety continues, it can lead to panic attacks, like you just suggested. It can very often lead to depression. So these are things that we see on very predictable, consistent trajectories in kids, in teenagers, in adults. And so if you were to design a way to make a population anxious and depressed, it would be this. It would be exactly the COVID pandemics that we've been through. Lots of uncertainty, lots of problems with stress and finances, sleep problems, upsetting a normal routine, and school is a normal routine. Taking away social outlets like, all this social distancing and physical distancing and things like that, limiting travel, limiting gatherings, like that is a recipe for chronic stress continued over a period of time leads to anxiety and depression. So here we are a year into this whole quagmire, and we're not just seeing people being stressed out, we're seeing them, develop these sort of frank, disease states, if you want to put that label on it, where people are starting to have problems, and so the solution for that would have been, well, let's intervene a year ago and help people with their stress and their stress resilience and their stress physiology so that they don't slip into the anxiety pit and the depression pit and the panic attack pit and things like that. But if they didn't do that a year ago, we can start doing that right now. The same exact principles apply.
So it goes back to what we can control, right? What we can do. We can watch our nutrition. We can exercise as best we can. The sleep is a huge one, especially for the teenagers if they're not sleeping. Can you talk a little bit about sleep and kids and how important that is and how that upsets the whole microbiome?
Yeah, and that what you said there, control what we can control. The other part of that is it's totally true. The other part of that is forget about what we can't control. Most of us as individuals can't control, is the governor going to open my state or not? Is the superintendent going to open my schools or not? Like those are out of our control in large part. So forget about them. Stop worrying about them. Focus on the things that you can control. Sleep is a wonderful one. I just before we started talking, I got off an hour-long Clubhouse discussion about sleep. And what I say to people about sleep is that it is the most underappreciated aspect of your entire health plan, right? You're probably focusing on eating right. You're probably focusing on being more physically active, but you're probably not focusing as much as you need to on your sleep. And it's vitally important, because if that sleep is not as high quality as possible, if you're sleep deprived and even by a little bit, that's going to impact not just your mental wellness the next day, you being irritated and, short of temper and fatigued and things like that. It's going to change your metabolism. It's going to make you more likely to gain weight. It's going to make you more likely to crave sweets and junk food. It's going to increase your risk for a long list of health problems, cancer and Alzheimer's and diabetes and heart disease and et cetera, et cetera. Like you almost cannot overstate the importance of getting adequate sleep. And here we are in this pandemic for a year. So many of us have been having interrupted sleep, and that's been feeding into this whole problem that we're talking about. So, it's one part stress management. It's one part making sure that your whole gut-brain axis is resilient so that you're able to rise to face whatever it is that you're facing. But it's also the ability to be able to relax when we need to relax. And that's a key portion of getting good quality sleep.
So interesting how if we repopulate and nourish the microbiome, how it will build all these things. It will help you to sleep better. It will help you to have better stress resilience, to be more calm. So I love that when you get to like the root of something, and then your body just kind of does what it was meant to do and heal itself.
People will look back on this conversation that we're having right now, Dale, 5 years from now, and they'll go, oh my gosh, they were talking about this then. Because 5 years from now, everybody's going to understand about the microbiome. Everybody's going to know that it's this vital part. These bacteria in our gut are a vital part of how we feel and how we perform and what our longevity looks like and what our disease risk looks like. By taking care of your microbiome, you're going to feel better today in terms of your stress levels and your mood and your resilience and your ability to focus and, all of that kind of stuff. And as a result of feeling better today, you're going to perform better tomorrow and you're going to be healthier into the future. And that, 5 years from now, everyone's going to go, well, of course, everybody knows that. But right now, hardly anybody knows that because it's such a really, really new area of science. But luckily, we're on the forefront of that.
Yeah, and it's especially, to me, when I hear all these kids that are really suffering and the parents are like, I don't know what to do, and they bring them to the doctor and the doctor's prescribing medication, and then the parent gets on the kid gets on the medication and the parent's like, who is this kid? Like, I don't know who this kid is anymore. Like,
Right.
And then they start like having really weird side effects, and then they're like, did I do the right thing? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm especially passionate about getting this message out before people go to the doctor and get that medication. Because try this, as you said earlier, when your son was dealing with it, you tried the natural route first, and then, take it from there. If you don't get results.
Yeah, it's like, I'm not anti-pharmaceutical, right? The pharmaceutical industry is, trying to do good things, and those drugs are there for people who need them, but they shouldn't be thought of as the first line therapy ever, right? Because most of those drugs, and this is going to be a very broad overstatement, but most of the synthetic pharmaceuticals out there aren't solving a problem. They are masking the problem. They're lessening the symptom. So if the symptom goes away, the person is not perceiving that problem as much. Problem's still there. The only way we're able to solve the problem is get to the root cause of what's actually causing the problem. And for most of these lifestyle issues that we talk about, stress and anxiety and depression and burnout and just feeling blah all the time, those are symptoms of being out of balance. And so if we can restore that balance through natural means, that should always be the first approach. Because if that doesn't work for you and there's something else that needs to be done, that pharmaceutical option is always available as a plan B or C or D or E, but it should never be plan A. There's other very effective, very safe, wonderful rebalancing options that should be considered plan A.
I am with you 1,000%. It's like, try the natural route first. Look at what your kids are eating. Look at the ingredients in the foods that they're eating. They're either nutrient rich or nutrient deficient. And most of the foods that kids are eating these days are deficient in nutrients. They're just calories, basically.
Right. Which speaks even more to the fact that kids need supplementation, maybe even more than their parents, right? More sources of stress, less sources of good nutrition. And I mean, I've got 2 college-age kids. I remember the days, and I don't even try to have this conversation with them anymore. They do pretty good now after hearing it for 20 years from their dad. But like having the conversation with kids around, you can't eat Chick-fil-A every single day. You're going to get scurvy, so like they don't want to have that conversation, and they're not going to listen to their parents about that kind of stuff. So you need to close that nutrition gap and make sure they're getting the vitamins and the minerals and the amino acids and the phytonutrients and all the kind of stuff that they clearly are not getting in their baseline diet.
And that's why I love also the kids pack that you formulated, because it has the nutrient piece as well, and then the balancing piece, and then the herbs and nutrients to keep them calm and help them to focus, and it's just everything in one neat little package. So
And we put that pack together because of that, right? To really sort of simplify it for parents to say, all right, what do I need? Do I need a gut-brain axis system? Maybe. Do I need a really well-formulated nutritional solution? Maybe. Do I need an herbal solution that is really going to sort of, get the brain to go to that next level? You can choose, which of those individual solutions you want, or you can get that kids pack, which puts them all together in the same pack at a discounted rate. So you can try all of them and see, if it, if it's the comprehensive solution that they need, or if you want to dial it into one or the other.
Right. Which it makes sense to try the comprehensive approach first, and then maybe see how they do and see where there's gaps in their nutrition. But I think probably every child has gaps in their nutrition.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Even if you try to do great when they go out in the outside world, then, they're eating some things that you would not want them to eat, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. So it's a matter of getting this message out, getting these products into those little bellies or those big bellies. The teenagers really are at great need right now. They really
Yeah.
are.
I think that's a huge part of it. Parents don't know that these options exist. Yeah, and once they find that they exist, they see the benefit in their kids. Other people see the benefit in their kids. The parents might see the benefits in themselves once they start stealing their kids' products. But yeah, it's a matter of people seeing how this can benefit their everyday lives.
Yeah, and what you had said in the beginning about, and what I see sometimes is people will reach out to me and say, I want to try those products for my child. And then they go into the group and they look around and they're like, wait a minute, I need that stuff for me too.
Right. Exactly.
And it's so true, especially little ones, like kids that can't really articulate, even as young as 2 years old. If you are stressed as a parent, your kid is feeling that on top of all the other stuff. So, it really is true. You do have to take care of yourself too as head of the household.
Right. And the earlier we can intervene in these kids so that they don't get into those problem states that then we need to fix, if we can keep them chugging along and keep them, kind of like I said before, rising to the occasion and continuing to level up and level up and level up, that's going to be good for every aspect of their life.
Yeah, I just have to say this because this just like made my day. We had a child, he was, I think, 9. I think he was 9 years old, and he was starting to get like D's and F's. 3 weeks on the protocol, and he was getting A's and B's.
Yep.
Like,
we hear it all the time.
Can you just explain that? I know I hear it all the time too. And I know you already talked about it, but can you just explain that a little bit more? Like, how does that happen so fast?
Yeah. So even outside of just a pure grade on a paper or an assignment, right? We've also heard from parents that, they've started the products and now their kids are being more social and they're being more outgoing and they're being more engaged with their friends and they're being less stressed out in a social situation and they're performing better in their sports. And, how in the world, but if you think about it, right? If it's overall confidence. Yeah. If that kid was having a problem focusing and now we can change that, their grades are going to be better. If that kid was having a little bit of social anxiety, I have that, I'm a full grown adult and I have that all the time. If you can solve that, they're going to perform better in that situation. So, I mean, it really is like mental wellness is this vast multifactorial situation that impacts every single aspect of our life. It's not just our mood. That's one tiny slice of it, but it is in every way. It's how we show up in the world. And if we can improve that, if we can enhance that for people, that can make all the difference about your quality of life.
Oh my gosh. And if we can do that for our kids at a young age and have them carrying through with confidence through life,
right.
Like what else would a parent want?
Change their life.
Absolutely. Without a doubt. Love it. All right. Well, this has been fantastic. I have a group that I can let you see some incredible testimonials. And I also do Tuesday testimonial and bring people on that share their story. So thank you again, Dr. Shawn, for being with me. I appreciate your time. I know you're a busy man.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much for all you do. And we really are going to change the world. Like, I believe that with every ounce of my being.